Hello, and welcome to the How to Choose Happiness and Freedom Show. I'm your host, Lauren Foster, happiness teacher and founder of Be Happy First. As a certified life mastery consultant, masters of wisdom and meditation teacher, and primal health coach, I'm on a mission to help 1 million women learn to be happy and free on purpose, healthy, wealthy, and joyfully living life on your own terms. Happiness is a choice, and you can always choose to be happy first. Thanks so much for being here. Now on to today's episode. Yay! we are here. It's a beautiful noonish in East Tennessee out here in the Appalachian Mountains, and this is September the 10th, 2020. I started using the date so that we can reference where we are in history when we're watching replays of this. So I am so honored to have with me Lisa Pezik. Lisa is an author and business strategist and two-time best-selling author of Women Who Illuminate and The Beauty of Authenticity, which is right along the lines of what we're going to talk about today. And we met through our publisher, Sue Erda, at Powerful You Publishing. So thank you so much for being with me, Lisa.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here and serve our audience, and I can't wait to dig in. Thank you.
So do you just love how these networks build and we make friends? And even though we're so isolated, I've met so many new people since I signed my book deal with this publisher, and it's just really cool.
That's always one of the main reasons why I do those kinds of things, is so I can get into communities and meet people, and absolutely, it's the best.
Meet like-minded women. Awesome. So tell us about you. So you were not always an entrepreneur business strategist. How did you get there?
No, so I grew up in a very small town, coal mining town in Pennsylvania, blue collar worker, family, grandfather was a coal miner. Entrepreneurship was just not something that was talked about, that was in our family. And my mom had this very clear vision of my life from when I was very young. So she would tell me who I could date, who I couldn't date, who I could be friends with, where I could go, where I couldn't go, what I was going to go to college for. So nursing, which was very, white scrub, white hat, very noble, that was my mom's dream. And I found myself in the middle of living it, because if I didn't do what my good old mommy dearest said, there was going to be heck to pay. So for the first 2 decades of my life, I really didn't make any decisions for myself. I didn't even really know how to make a decision. And I found myself 100 pounds overweight, working as an ICU nurse, being frustrated, uncomfortable, overwhelmed, and just feeling like something was off. But it didn't make sense, right? Because on paper, I was a successful nurse, and I graduated, and I had my apartment, and I was independent. But something inside of me just never felt right. And I decided to take a trip with some single girlfriends to the Dominican. And it was there that I met this guy from Canada. And we started doing this long distance relationship. And quickly fell in love, and quickly realized he was the man for me. So now here I am at 20-something years old, deciding that I want to move. I want to go to Canada. He was always entrepreneurial. I want to marry this guy, and I want to start a different path and a different life. And I told my mom, and they were like, no. If you do this, no. We don't agree with it. We don't want you to go there. And if you do this, you don't have our blessing anymore in life. And I had to make a crossroad decision of what to do. And I decided that I was going to stop calling home. I was going to stop paying attention to those voices that gave me no other options, and start doing what I wanted to do. And we were about a couple years later, so I moved up here. I married my husband, had a child, and I hadn't spoken to my mom in quite some time. And then one day, I'm pulling out of a parking lot, and I hear ding, 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 text on my phone. And I think, oh my God, something, like, if someone's texting me this much, something must be wrong. I pull over and I pull out my phone. It's my mom. And she says, Lisa, we haven't spoken in a really long time, and some things I need you to know. You are heartless. You are soulless. You are no longer my daughter. You are no longer welcome in this family. And goodbye. And I threw down the phone, and I grabbed the steering wheel, and my hands were shaking, and the hot tears were coming down my face. And I was in the car by myself. I threw the car in drive, and I heard this voice say, stop. And I slammed on the brakes. And just as I looked up, this transport truck was seconds from completely wiping me out. Just right past. And that was the moment that I realized, wow, in 1 second I could be here, and the next second I can't. And it was literally a crossroads for me that even though I had physically made changes in my life, so I had started taking care of myself, I had lost that 100 pounds, I had moved to Canada, I had married my love, I was still working as a nurse, but I was doing some stuff on the side, some online business stuff on the side. Inside my head was my mom's voice. And that was the moment when I realized I can't let that stay up there. I can't let that dictate every decision that I make moving forward, because at that point I was comfortable. I was working as a nurse, but I was also working this online. I had lost over 100 pounds. So I thought, I'm going to help people in health and fitness because that's going to get a bunch of certifications. That's what I can do. But I wasn't really putting myself out there. I wasn't really being visible. It was like, if you wanted to work with me, you had to find me. Because I was so afraid to make decisions. I was so afraid of judgment. I was so afraid that I wasn't good enough. I was trying to be perfect. I was trying to be a good girl. I was trying to do what I was told. And all these things were sabotaging all the success that I really, truly wanted in my life. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized I gotta do some inner work. Physically, I had changed my body, but I gotta do some inner work. And I gotta get help if I want to now go bigger, get more visible. And that's where I started studying under a ton of mentors and really becoming an expert in this space now. But it was almost that moment of life being completely taken away that really woke me up and made me realize that I have a bigger purpose on this planet. I am here, and I better start living into it.
Yeah, okay. So the two big events right there in that same moment is all that with your mom. And all of us experience this to some degree or another. Usually not as drastic as that, but
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, there are a lot of people who live their lives through their children and think that they know best, and we we, we forget how to trust our own guidance system. They teach us to
Mm-hmm.
look into the eyes of others for approval, for guidance, for decision making. And yeah, so back to back with so my life could be over in the next minute, and I never made my own decision. Oh, I totally love that. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's everything that we're teaching here is undoing all of the stuff that's in your mind that's keeping you from being happy in the way that you want to be happy. I totally love that. So, as a mom, are you what lessons did you bring from the way you were brought up into being a mother yourself? Are you remembering to let that child think for itself? And talk to me about
That's
that a little bit.
such a great question.
Yeah.
I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of anger that I didn't know what to do with.
Right.
And a lot of, why can't you just change? Why can't you just love me? Like victimy almost, right? I was always playing this is the way I want the scenario to be. And no matter how many times I went to therapy and I healed and I did my part, when you have someone that's not willing to do their part, you can't change someone.
Right.
So I had all this anger and anger and anger that I didn't know what to do with, until I was able to process that and realize that was actually a gift. Someone said a quote to me that stuck with me, and he said, a mentor of mine said, our parents' shortcomings are actually our greatest blessings and our greatest gift. And, he was saying, how can you honor your mom and thank her for that? Because it helped you have awareness that I don't want to do that. I don't want to say that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to parent like that. We do the best we can given what we know.
Yeah, right.
And this was emotional abuse and verbal abuse, and this was generational that had been passed down. This was not just something my mom experienced. This was, decades, generations. And for me, because I chose different and I chose to heal, I was able to break that. I was able to heal the past generations and heal the forward generations and truly have that freedom. So I'm so conscious with my words. I'm so aware of how much our words have weight and the way that I say things, and taking that pause. And the anger that I had was really grief, is really what it was. It was grieving a relationship, grieving that mother-daughter love, grieving that mother-father, or that daughter-father kind of love, that parent kind of love. And I realized I get to pour, instead of being angry about it, I get to pour all that love into my family, into my husband, into my son. And we're so connected and so bonded. I mean, where we wear the matching pajamas at Christmas time, like we are like, the postcard family that loves to just do everything together. Even my entrepreneurial stuff, our little guy comes along with us, and he gets kind of that world schooling, and he's seeing the world through a different view than I ever got to see. So when I learned how to take that anger and make it a blessing, and take that anger and realize that I wouldn't be the woman I am, I wouldn't be the mom I am, if I didn't have those kind of experiences. And being really careful with my words, just being really careful about the way I say things, how I say things. And if I say something I shouldn't, saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was never a word we said. We never apologized in our household. Two people could be screaming at each other, walk away, and that was it. And there was like, forget about it, move on, never talk about it. We communicate, and we talk so much in our household that really the communication and our words are like the anchor of my marriage and me as a mother.
Right. This reminds me of Wayne Dyer's story of his father. His father abandoned them when he was just a baby, so he never knew him and carried all this resentment. And
Yep.
the forgiveness of him was a life-changing event for him. And
Yeah.
so that's what you've arrived at. You've arrived at forgiveness, arrived at no longer allowing that to define you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sets you free. It's like, I'm not forgiving you by saying it's okay.
Right?
I'm forgiving you so I can have more room. I can have less weight. I can carry less to
Right.
be able to be better.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the big misconceptions is people think that if they forgive, they're condoning, but you're not. Forgiveness is for you, because
Mm-hmm.
your anger and resentment wasn't hurting your mom. She didn't even know. It was only hurting you. So
Yeah.
letting that go, that's
Yeah.
awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I encounter a lot with all of the people that I talk to is the first thing that we try to get people to come up with is what they would really love. And so you were in that place where you can even conceive of a different path than the path that your mother chose for you. So you had to
Mm-hmm.
overcome all of those blocks. But most people are still, even without that situation, that instead of thinking of what would I love, they think, well, what do I know how to do? What do I deserve? What do I think I can do? Instead of being able to just go, this is what I would love, and then letting the hows and everything fill in. So talk to us from
Mm-hmm.
your personal experience about how you can get to that place where you're able to imagine and to tap into the infinite
Mm-hmm.
possibilities.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it for me came from being still. Something that I did not know how to do. I was one of those people that, if you've ever seen that quote or that meme where it's like, I have 47 Google tabs open in my head and the music is playing somewhere and I don't know where it's coming from,
Right.
that was me. I didn't know how to be still because I was afraid of the emotions that would come up if I was still. So I constantly was either working, I was constantly cleaning my home, organizing my home, scrapbooking pictures of my son's first year of life. Like, I was always busy, and I didn't know how to meditate. I didn't know how to be still. I didn't know how to listen and tap in to what felt good to me and what my gifts were. And usually it was all the things that I was so scared to do were the right way that I was supposed to go. If you have a thought and you're like, oh my God, that'd be so cool. I would love to do that. That could be so fun. But oh my God, the judgment. Oh my God, I don't know enough. Oh my God, I'm stupid. Oh my God, I'm not this. I didn't come from the right family. I don't. All of that before the but, that's the thing. That's the thing. We go, well, how am I going to do that? How is a losing question? Right. Because how? You're going to come up with all the ways you can't. Mm-hmm. So I always say, don't get stuck on how you're going to do it. Visualize that end picture of whatever it is that you want and start telling people about it. And the right people will come and the right people will help you. And you've already probably grasped skills and things that you can already use that you don't know about. Right. Like, nursing wasn't my forever calling, but I learned empathy. I learned how to hustle. I was an ICU nurse, an emergency room nurse. I learned how to think quick, how to critically think. All of that comes with me into the work I do now. Mm-hmm. As a wellness coach, when I was in the health and fitness industry, I learned how to really get to the root of what's going on with people, why they choose the mindset, why they choose the habits that they choose, the voice that they do say to themselves, and being able to help people be kinder to themselves. Because that's what I had to learn, how to be kind to myself. Yeah. And it's like I take that over into the business world that I'm in now. So every job, every profession, even from when you were 13 or 14 or a babysitter or a lifeguard, or that's what I was a lifeguard in the beginning. It's like all of those skills you can sharpen and use towards whatever that vision is that you have. It's never about the how that you get there. It's I want to do this. I want to be this. What skills do I have that I can use to support that? Mm-hmm. And then where do I need to ask to get help? Right. That's where, I don't know if you saw in like my bio, like I studied under Brendan Burchard and Bo Eason and Marie Forleo and Roger Love. And I was like, I don't know about the online space. I need to learn deeper. I know how to connect with people. Mm-hmm. I know how to problem solve and think quickly and connect. But all the technical and all the sales and all of that, I don't do any of that. Right. So I had to go and study and learn. So I think it's knowing who you are and the gifts you have, and then committing to being a learner, a constant learner of life, and saying, if I don't know this, there is somebody out there who can help me and teach me. Huh? And then go. The universe rewards action. Yeah. When I wanted to be an author in the books that we're in, I was like, I better start like practicing. So I had a blog and I just started writing. When I wanted to be a speaker, I put a podcast together. Mm-hmm. And the first couple times that I filmed it, I had no audio, I had no intro, outro buffer, I didn't have all the fancy production quality. It was just me sitting in front of my computer filming the podcast. It was me sitting in front of my computer typing on Microsoft Word some blog post, not even knowing where I was going to put it. Right. Take the first step. And then people will come and say, hey, I'll help you. Hey, I know someone that can help you get that up and going. Yeah. But you got to be clear and you got to take that first step. Yeah, I love that. So I want to add a few things into that just to round that out, because that's just such a perfect message. And being curious and being open and being aware of when the universe is bringing you resources, is bringing you ideas, is bringing you the people who can teach you the things that you need to know in order to get things done. And then the confidence that you get from mastering a new skill. So everybody's bad at things when they first start.
And so having confidence as a beginner is kind of a misnomer. But that's when you have courage. You have the courage to do the best that you can, and then you get better and you get better and you get better. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. And then you build what the dream that you have envisioned for yourself. When I have been on and off, I've been writing in different ways, forms, and fashions most of my life, marketing, sales letters, whatever. And I've
Yeah.
started probably 20 books. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going on sabbatical to write my book. But instead of writing, I would go party and meet new people. And so I started over and over and over. Well, recently I'm like, okay, it's time to get serious about writing my book. I
Yeah.
got to get it done. I cut off all my fingernails and typed out whatever was on my mind at the moment. And then an
Yeah.
email came from a women's organization that was a compilation type of book. I'm like, oh, this is a good idea, but the language didn't really resonate with me. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't really act on that. But then the very next day, a personal note from Kathy Filer came, and
Yeah.
yeah, the name of the book is The Art and Truth of Transformation for Women. Like, what could be
Mm-hmm.
more perfect? The name of the company is Powerful You Publishing. Just like everything resonated
Yeah.
with me perfectly. Like, this is exactly the next step. That How did she find me? This is the universe at
Yes.
work. This is how things happen. As long as you're staying present. Oh, I just love it. I love your story.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you are in business with your husband. Tell me what that looks like. What is your, so one of the big things in life are career and money,
Yep.
physical fitness, and
Yep.
relationships. Once you get all three of those down pat, the rest of the stuff is just kind of floating around out there. So, and
Yes.
you're
Yes.
combining that. So, talk to us about how that evolved and what that looks like, and
Mm-hmm.
have in mind awakening the imagination of our listeners to go, well, these are possibilities for me. These are things that I could do. I can have the courage to go for what I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always bring it back to how important community. It's almost what we were talking about in the beginning, how we met through this community and your
Hmm.
support system, whether that's directly in your household, a partner, a spouse, whoever it is, or other people in your life are so important. My husband believed in me before I believed in myself. He was the one because he has a more he didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial background either,
Right.
but he was able to think differently, see the world differently, and became an entrepreneur long before me. So he had the bug, he had the knowledge, he was doing it while he was working for his agencies and then having freelance clients on the side. And he was the one who originally said to me, when I lost all that weight and I got all my certifications in fitness, I was teaching at other gyms. And I was teaching fitness classes and I was doing nutritional counseling. And he's like, babe, have you noticed your classes are the most attended? People gravitate to you. And have you noticed, you're the busiest trainer, you're the busiest nutritionist. And he's like, people want to be around you. People want more of you. You should do this as a business. And I'm like, oh no, 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 no. I can't do that. I'm not cut out for that. I can't be an entrepreneur. I don't know the first thing about it. And I realized that even talking about money, I was getting paid my, $20 an hour to come in and do my work. Meanwhile, the gyms were getting more and more and more and more participants and growing when it was me that they were coming for, which was so eye-opening and humbling.
Right.
So he was the one that said, babe, you're an entrepreneur. Like, you have to, and you're always being creative and doing things your own way and figuring it out and putting your spin on it. So he actually created my first business cards, website, logo. He kind of created it and then went, go. And
That's
I
great.
went, okay, well, we're doing this. So that's how that came about.
Uh-huh.
And then as I started doing health and fitness, I realized how much I loved coaching people with their voice and their story and their content. And then he was full time now as an entrepreneur with the tech and the copy and the website and the funnels and the social media and the Facebook ads. And literally one day over a beer, we were like debriefing about our days, having like a glass of wine and a beer. And we were mapping out what is the client journey and the client path for an entrepreneur. And we thought, well, they need an idea. They need to know who they are, what their stories are, what they want to create, how they want to serve the world, how they want to do it, which is what I was really good at. And I was doing that with my coaching. And then after they have all the content and the copy and the language and the video shot, then they need the technology piece of it. Then they need to be able to launch it. Then they need to be able to tell people about it. And that was what he was doing. And it's so funny that two people who are so connected in so many other areas in life didn't see it.
Right.
That we were working separately, doing separate things. And we went, oh, like, oh my God, why don't we come together and do this as a couple and do this as own our own company, a husband and wife run company that takes you through the entire process when you want to create something. And that literally was where it was born. But it's interesting because, you know, in our marriage, even maybe in our parenting, there are things that he's really good at that I'm not. So he does it. And then there are things that I'm really good at and he's not or doesn't want to, and I do it. In the business, we're both really good at what we do. So we always have to make sure we're on the same page first before we ever talk to a client or we ever bring something forward. Because sometimes him and I will not butt heads, but it's like, no, I have the better idea. No, I have the better idea. No, we should do it this way. No, how about we do it this way? Because we're both really innovative and creative and good at what we do. Mm-hmm. So we always have to make sure that we're on the same page before we go ahead and move forward. And then the second biggest thing I think is the boundary setting. That, you know, we'll be on a date night and because we both love what we do, my husband will be like, oh my God, we have this client and this thing. And and I'm like, we're on a date night. Like, I don't want to talk about business right now. You know, it's like when you love what you do and we're so intertwined, sometimes you forget, oh yeah, we are a married couple. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we do have this other whole really important part of our life. It's not just all work, even though we work so much and we work so well together. So really that boundary of shutting off, of family time, of date nights, of knowing when to shut it down, even though we are literally joined at the hip with parenting and working and playing and marriage and all of that, is so key. So that was a hard balance. People say, how's your work-life balance? And they wanted me to come up with this answer to say, oh yeah, we have it so perfect and it's great. And for the longest time, I was like, it's awful. Like, we are literally trying to work our way through it and figure it out. And now we finally have it at a pretty good place where we know the boundaries and we know the balance. But it took a little bit to get there.
Right. Okay, cool. So, you know, I'm interested. It keeps popping into my head that I always have like a general loose topic for the month, just in case I don't have a guest, so that I don't have to dream up something to talk about. And this month would have been relationships. And yeah, so and along with the theme of, there are a lot of people who are in relationships and are being defined by those relationships to their own detriment. There are also people who are not in relationships and they're defining themselves by that. You know, so having your relationship be a wonderful addition to my dog has found her way outside and can't find her way back in. So now she's barking at me to come and open one of the doors for her. So I apologize for the dog barking. She's just gonna have to wait. So talk to me about how you met and the mindset. Do you hear her? Do you hear her?
No, I was saying, about how we met.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a
yeah. Yes. No, and so I think I understood that you were 100 pounds overweight when you met him.
No, so okay. I had just lost all the weight actually in that year prior. And yeah, I was invited to go on a trip with my single nurse girlfriends, and he was invited to go on a trip with his single guy friends. I was in Pennsylvania working and doing my thing. He was in Burlington, Ontario, Canada, working and doing his thing. And both of us almost didn't go on the trip. So I was working like crazy. So I was young, didn't have children, working as a nurse, had all this student debt. And I was just work. And I had worked almost, I think it was 6 or 7 back-to-back 12-hour night shifts before this trip. And I thought, I can't go on this darn thing. I'm so tired. I don't want to spend the money. I want to put it towards my loans. And my friend said, Lisa, you need a break. You're going. We're not letting you not go. He went with his best guy friend, the guy friend's girlfriend, and the friend's friend. And his best friend and girlfriend were having all these problems. They were arguing. And Eric said, my husband said, if you go on this trip and you're going to break up, I'm not going, because I don't want to be on a trip with you when you're miserable. Well, lo and behold, right before the trip, they break up. But they decide that they're still going to go anyway. So he was like, I'm not going. Okay, fine, I'll go. So neither one of us almost went to this island. And he was there before me. He was already a few days into the trip. I was in the lobby getting out of the airport taxi. And he will tell you that he saw me walk by him. He stopped. He turned. He felt this energy hit him, and he nudged his friend and he said, I gotta go talk to that woman. That's the woman I'm gonna marry. And his friend was like, what are you, crazy? Like, what is wrong? Have you had too many drinks? Like, what is wrong with you? You're not going over there. And he's like, yes, I am. And he's like, dude, give her a moment. Like, she's not looking for you. Like, she's here with her girlfriend. She's not even settled in, at the resort yet. And he was like, okay, I'll talk to her later. So he didn't approach me. But we were at the disco later that night, and he was aware of my friend group. My friends were dancing on the dance floor. I was at the bar, and he said, hey, he walked over to my friend group and said, hey, tell your friend to come over here. I want to talk to her. So my girlfriend comes over, and she's like, hey, come dance on the dance floor. And we literally bumped into each other. I'm sure he planned that, right? We bumped into each other. And I looked into his eyes, and he literally was like, hey, I'm Eric. It's nice to meet you. Do you want to go get a drink? Do you want to talk a little bit more? I'd love to talk to you. So not a cheesy pickup line, not making any first moves. There was this feeling of safety that I had with him from the second that I met him. And we started talking, and then he said, hey, do you want to go for a walk on the beach? It's kind of loud. We're at the disco. We can't really talk. There's a lot of music. Mm-hmm. So in hindsight, when I tell my friends and family, they're like, what are you, crazy? You just met this guy at a resort, and you're like going for a walk on the beach, and he could be a murderer or, rapist or whatever, right? Are you crazy? But I just felt this instant security the second I met him. Mm-hmm. So we went for a walk, and we started talking more. And there were chairs. There were beach chairs. And I said, God, I'm kind of tired. I think I'm just going to sit down. Do you want to look at the stars? I fell asleep on our very first date on my now husband. And like a complete gentleman, he let me sleep for 45 minutes, stayed beside me, rubbed my head, walked me home. We had our first kiss, gave me a kiss. And we spent 4 days together on this vacation. And then when it was time for him to leave, I guess I wasn't aware that I played it kind of cool. He got really upset because he thought that was it. He thought we had these 4 beautiful, in those 4 days, we were talking about our careers and if we wanted to have children and where we plan a dream home that we want to, we were talking about all this deep stuff in the first moment that we met each other. And he thought I was never going to call him again.
Oh.
And he left. We exchanged numbers. And then as soon as I got back from the trip, I called him and said, hey, I hope you made it home safe. Would love to come and see you. And 2 weeks later, he was driving down to see me at my apartment. Now, again, friends and family are like, what are you, crazy? You're going to let this guy that you met in the Dominican from Canada come and stay in your apartment for a weekend? You live by yourself. He came, and I will never forget, I lived on a top floor apartment where I had to walk down the steps. And he rang the doorbell. I walked down the steps. I opened the door, and then we had our first hug and kiss since we were on that vacation. And that was the moment for me when I knew this was the man I was going to marry. It was in that embrace. He knew from the first second he saw me and we kissed, and I knew from that first re-engagement embrace that we had when he came to see me that was, he was going to be the man that I was going to marry. And we did long distance for almost a year, and then, got engaged. I moved up to Canada, immigrated, the whole bit, and it's been amazing. But it was definitely, divinely guided. Was not looking for love, was not planning to meet him, and my life is definitely, where it's supposed to be because of him and his influence and his just nature of who he is, pushing me and growing me, and me the same with him, pushing him and growing him. It's he is my soulmate, and I am his soulmate for sure.
So aren't you glad you didn't listen to your family and friends? It's I've always tell clients that don't share your dream with other people, because no matter how much they love you, they don't get it, and that
No.
they'll knock your feet out from under you from their lack of faith and their lack of understanding. So you keep your seedling dream close to you and keep it safe until it's big and strong enough to withstand all of that. So
yeah, absolutely. They don't understand sometimes unless they're in it. They're not feeling what you're feeling. They're not seeing what you're seeing.
right.
And it doesn't matter.
No.
All that matters is what feels right to you. That's all we kept saying the whole time. And my friends and family saying, what do you want to go to Canada for? Why do you want to move to a different country? And then his family were saying, what do you want to go through all this with a girl from the US? And why do you want to do that? And we're like, because you don't know what's in here. You don't feel what we feel. We know it. When you don't have any other option. Right. When your gut and your heart knows that it's right, you have to figure it out. You have to find a way. You don't have any other option. You got to go with that.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. And I know you're wonderful parents and creating an awesome, awesome future for that little boy.
Yes.
And now, are you in Canada now still?
I am. So we're outside Toronto. Yeah. So I've been here since 2006, and I became a dual citizen in 2013. Wow. Yes, so you're still there now.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So in the event that we have listeners who are wanting to start an online business, who are wanting to get into business and would like to work with you, how do we find you, and what's the first step? And give us some advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So my name, if you Google it, my website is www.lisapezek.com. That has all our offerings and free stuff on there. I have a podcast, I have a blog, I have a weekly newsletter. So I love giving out all sorts of free information. And then also how to work with us is on there. We do everything really individualized and customized. So yeah, send an email, and that's the best way to get started on there. Facebook is Lisa Pezik Strategist. Instagram is lisa.pezik. My podcast is the Lisa Pezik Show. So pretty much I made it simple. If you search my name, you will find me. But the website is the best place to go for now.
Okay, that's awesome. So before we go, what would be the most important thing you could say to someone who is just feeling like they're not living their life on purpose, that they are not on their own path, that they are not, that so many times we feel, I can't, we have this mentality of, well, I would be happy if he would act right, if my spouse would act right, if my kids would act right, if the economy would improve, if this, if that, all of these outside circumstances. What would be your advice to teach people to be happy anyway, to not let themselves be victims of circumstance?
I always say, there's a reason why my 6-year-old, when he was in kindergarten, or when our kids are little, it's show and tell. It's show first. We always say, how do I get them to understand? What do I say to them? How do I get my spouse to support me, or my mom to love me, or my kid to do this, or this investor to believe in my business dream? Or you can't with words. You can't, there is no right thing to say. When you show them, when you do it, If they don't approve of your relationship, when our families are good, like when they see how happy you are, they get it. Mm-hmm. When you start putting in the work to that business or that passion or that thing that maybe you're not even sure it's going to be a business, but you love it and you're passionate about it, the more you do that, people see how happy it makes you and the ripple effect that it makes on the world. The more that you do and you show and you just stay in your lane and do your thing, the more people will understand, the more they'll come on board, the more they will support you, the more they'll see that this isn't some passing fad or newest, fling or thing that you're into, that this is what you're really serious about. And you're going to keep getting up. Even if you get knocked down, you're going to keep asking for help. You're going to keep going. You're going to stay true to it. You got to do. You got to do. Take action. Even if it's messy and mucky and doesn't go the way that you plan it to, you do what feels right and in your heart and your gut you know is right to you. And people will start to see and the support will come and the dreams will start happening because you're committed to the dream. Right. I don't care so much about what you do one time. I care about what you consistently do. Right. And when you consistently do it, things start to happen.
Yeah. And how you show up every day and how you choose to show up every day. Yes. I love it. All right. So lisapezik.com. Be sure to like and share this video, whether you're listening to the podcast or you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook. Share with your friends and join us back here next week. Lisa, thank you so much for being here with us. But sit tight. I'm going to close out the show and then say goodbye to you in private. So our guest next week is the original Gutsy Gal. So you're going to definitely want to tune in for that episode. In the meantime, remember, happiness is a choice, and you can always choose to be happy first. I'll see you soon.